So is it going?
You're live. Yes. We're in. We're back, baby. Uh
Yeah.
deli-
Cool.
Excellent. Delicious Divination number 17. We've got a very special guest, Nathan Navarrete. I hope I didn't
Ooh,
butcher that.
I think you had an N in there somewhere.
Shoot.
Navarrete. Wait, you got to roll that. Navarrete. I
Yeah.
suck at rolling R's, man. I wouldn't last a second in Mexico.
Navarrete.
There you
Oh,
go.
beautiful. Um so Nathan is really cool. He runs Evolved Care Solutions, which is a Discord channel, as well as he's got a website of the same name. Um, Dude, tell us what you told me earlier. Like, what inspired you to get into this? Cause Barry, you're gonna love this.
I'm down. I want to hear it, man. Nathan, you just, as a human out there, like, you're doing so much, man. I love that you live it. You just have like a pure resonance emanating from you, and it's beautiful, man. I'm so excited to get to chat with you and just to learn more about you, how a being can pretty much hold something like that down in these crazy times, these crazy realms, man. You're such a helper. But go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, I feel moved, and that's a gift of authentic recognition from both of you. Well, why I do what I do is I love nourishing people, similar to what you're both doing with nourishing people with deeper awareness and collaborating with
Hmm.
consciousness or inspiration so people can live a more pleasurable life. Um, Clearly giving their unique self to the world and unique self defined in different wordings. We could say that that's a life print or a soul print or our natal chart, the map of our psyche. And to
Right, right.
answer your question, Todd, it's really interesting to reflect back, and I'm of two different cultures. So my dad's side is from Mexico, and that goes to Spain, and my mother's side is Scandinavian, and that goes to Sweden. So
Ooh,
I
it's a good mix.
yeah, yeah, and it was really interesting when I first got invested in like astrological readings or psychic readings in Arizona or something, and this theme of polarity kept on coming up of walking in between worlds, and it definitely felt I felt torn growing up because it's like I'm not fully scanned. They're kind of like I could see both of these worlds, and it gifted more flexibility to explore
Mhm.
consciousness and my psyche. So um, to answer your question, Todd, something that's coming up for me is I was at my father's sister's house, and I think this must have been probably in like 2007 in California, and it was a holiday. I went San Diego. That's where we went. We went to some bookshop. I bought a book on ayahuasca. I was reading case studies about, nurses, doctors, all, treating addiction. I was very interested in it, and the least non-invasive way that we're aware of on the planet. I was seeking that, and then my aunt was saying, "Well, did your dad ever tell you the story about your grandmother?" And I'm like, "Well, some." And she's like, "Well, did he talk about how we used to dance for rain on the ranch?" And I go, "No, he never told me that one." But I had seen
Oh, wow.
Carlos Castaneda books in his in his room growing up, and so she tells me this story that her mom, my grandma, used to go to a little village that was like on the outskirts of Phoenix, um, that was Native American um, and Mexican mix group of people, and she would go there and buy, ritual divination tools, and herbs and feathers and all this stuff, and I was just blown open of like, wow, this really makes sense. And so when my grandmother passed, she gave me her um, Mexican blanket, and that has basically been like this spirit blanket that I've not even thought about bringing into rituals, yet it has followed me into Native American ceremony in like Oregon and California, um, and even on my own psychedelic journeys. It's been with me on, the beach in California and all these mystical
Awesome.
experiences. So I reflect back, and it everything's in its place, and I have a sense that it's coming from dad's side through the maternal lineage of him.
Hmm, nice.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Hmm.
So that pretty much started opening you up right away. Now 2007, how old were you right there, Nathan? I mean, it sounds like you were probably pretty young coming into a pretty infinite world or realm right there, walking into it. I mean, so it's kind of timeless in a sense, but I mean, you got to work right away, it sounds like.
Before that, it was in Minnesota. Uh, I want to say 2002 was my first LSD experience.
Nice.
So that had definitely lifted the veil, and being I mean, it's almost like waking up one day and, knowing that there's a food shortage and the Federal Reserve note is worthless. It was like shocking, and
Yeah.
that just brought this motivation to explore and a deep desire to learn. And um one thing just led to another. I think with most of us, it kind of, we explore one thing and we see the link, and when the mind thinks it's like one thing, you see there's the link that links to everything else.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that.
That's pretty awesome. So right now, Nathan, you're running the Evolved Care situation, and
Uh,
it's pretty awesome, man. I mean, you've got um, quite a wealth of wisdom in many different categories. Kind of a awesome place to collaborate, share. You're always lifting people up, like pretty much looking up charts or, transits, or I mean, all the time. Like, just it's not like, people are paying you or anything. You just out of your heart you remember people, so when you come across things, it's real easy for you to go into your reservoir of caring and all of this energy that you hold for people, and you can kind of plug it in when you see it. Oh, this goes with this person, this goes with this person, and it's really neat, man. I really like it a lot. World needs more of it.
yeah, it's super useful stuff. Um, yeah, I learned a lot with, especially like the human design. Like, I've actually had people tell me recently, like, "Do you know the gene keys in human?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I have heard of that." It's super unexpected.
Yeah, I
It's
thought the human design stuff was awesome. I'm still at a point where, I'm diving into it and kind of absorbing it still. Um, I guess I'm a pure generator, and I think Todd, you're a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you're a projector, right, Nathan?
Yeah, interesting talking about the types. And uh, for those who are listening, when we mention projector, generator, we're referring to these four core like archetypes, or the binaries, that
Mm-hmm.
before it kind of, in the I Ching, it goes into six lines. There's groupings of two um, lines that can, the straight line is yin or yang, and the split is yin. And so you can have four
Right.
basic, two straight ones, two broken ones, a straight one, broken one, and vice versa on top. And that's your four. This is where the the man who had his encounter, they don't really say that he channeled it because there wasn't really a choice. If you watch the human design story on YouTube, it's a really otherworldly, psychedelic, just and he wasn't even on psychedelics, but the encounter
It was like an
itself was just
automatic
really
writing, like
mystical. And
channeling just pouring through him.
Cool.
yeah, like yep, like so that's why he refers it to as an encounter. And
Mm,
so one of the texts that he had there in that area was the I Ching. He also the Bible was synthesized in it, and astrology. So that generator projector is referring to these archetypes. And what is interesting that I was reflecting upon recently was you can look at your design and you can also look at a view of a sidereal. So we're familiar with
mhm.
tropical astrology and how that is correlating with the sun. And then you have Jyotish, which is the Vedic astrology correlating to the moon. So we can look at our design. We actually have a design in our
Right.
sidereal too. So we're a synthesis, um and I can share more about that if you want, of what your guys's types
I
are
love that,
in
Nathan, because a lot of
the
people
sidereal.
are really confused. They get confused with the sidereal versus that tropical, the sun versus the moon chart. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy.
Oh, I didn't perceive a cutoff.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So to answer your question, the type I am is a environmental projector. It's also known as a mental projector. So the ajna and the throat are defined in the body graph, and yet when I look at the sidereal calculation, I'm a pure manifesting generator, right? And so there's it even our
wow.
profile changes, our cross changes. So I've been going through and looking at all the degrees of the planet placements in both the tropical and the sidereal. And when I look at where the planet degrees are for the sidereal, it resonates too. Like I laugh and feel moved, like, whoa, that's, zany. It describes something like zany humor or a playwright, and I
Yeah,
like writing, and it just resonates.
I
It's
get
like
that too.
what you
We
were
did.
mentioning earlier, Todd.
Yeah, Barry did my. He explained it in the sidereal aspect, and I understood it originally through the tropical aspect. But um, I resonate with both for sure. And the sidereal was just like, oh wow, like I recognize that there's an aspect of me that I've been using a long time. I just didn't know it had a name. So it's very useful information.
Yeah.
I also really like the Mayan system though, because it like it's infinite. So it's like that's pretty awesome. And I find a lot of resonance with that since I've been basically looking at it for years.
Tell us more about that, Todd. What differentiates the Mayan system? What do you see? Um, I'd love to hear about it, buddy, if you have anything on it.
Yeah, well, let me try to show you. Well, I know I'll take a picture for you guys. Just give me one sec here. Well, your buddy Santos Bonacci, he's one of I don't know if he like worked with him or whatever, but he did a presentation I watched a while back, and I took notes because it's endlessly fascinating.
That's
Um,
cool.
so I'll put on the notes. People can look and I'll send you guys a picture real. I'm looking at the wrong
Okay.
camera. But this,
Does it change the signs and stuff like that? Kind of like tropical versus sidereal, it shifts at about 26-7 degrees.
no, I'll just try to explain it as best I. Um, let's see. Oh, so I even have his name. Great. So this is, if you want to look it up, if it's still on YouTube, it's called "Removing the Veil" by Johann Oldenkamp, PhD, and he goes through a lot of it. Now, the way the Mayan thing works is there are 13 galactic tones. So uh, it's just 1 through 13. Each one has a different value, and I think it's more of the like external world, so to speak. And then they
Wow.
have 20 signs, essentially day signs, they call them, which is like your light, or I guess like it's kind of you at the core. And then when the you get like four basic ones that form a cross. Each one has a different aspect. Like one is the occult, so it's your esoteric essence. I think the one is like the past, and I think the other might be like the challenge or something. And then these all have word values that create a title, so to speak, or a
Oh wow, that's cool.
integration of the sun sign, which will be so. For instance, mine is literally white spectral wizard, which I thought was hilarious.
That's awesome, man.
um, but so this guy did a great presentation, and what I love about it is it kind of shows you how to go to what's like it shows you Mayan, and it to me it just seems like a straight ticket to all the other systems because I'll try to zoom in. Oh shit, I gotta send you guys a picture. One sec. Doing picture stuff. Yeah.
I love it. That's fascinating, Todd, what you've said so far. I mean, that's pretty neat. And that's what I love about astrology. There's so many different ways to look, at the design of, placements of things. You can place so many different things at the ascendant. Like you've got draconic astrology, which I think draconic astrology places the north node of the moon, the dragon's head, as your ascendant, and then it lays all your planets and shit are kind of in the same spot, but it would put them in a different sign.
Hmm.
If it's not that, it uses 0 degrees Aquarius, which is like that pan degree, which is right in between Capricorn and Aquarius. So it's very much the heaven on earth right in the center because you've got the fixed air and you've got the cardinal earth for Capricorn, fixed air for Aquarius. So it's very much the original, you know, the the cardinal earth right there is the car diurnal. So it shows the incarnate and then it shows the diurnal. So the two phases of pretty much electricity. And that in itself right there as earth shows you that the cardinal cross in itself, that mode is from our perspective in this seat that we're in, the one that has the most strength, the one that has the most power, because these are our angular positions. This is where things change. This is where winter changes to spring, to summer, to fall, etc., all on these cardinal positions. And then having fixed air right there with Aquarius, you've got a constant flow.
Hmm.
Fixed is eternal, so fixed is going to be that feeling, that consciousness. So air is consciousness, air is feeling. So there's something it feels like to I always say eat a hot dog. I don't know why I choose that, but there's something it feels like to eat a hot dog. Like there's a certain like set
Vibe.
of a qualia, a set of
Yeah.
frequencies that you've experienced, that separates it from eating a salad or mowing the grass. There's just something it's like to eat a hot dog. So that's that fixed air right there. So it holds down the feelings of something. So it's like you can know that you're doing this because you're getting the feeling of it. Um, and that's the original right there. It didn't move in the beginning. It didn't have the fire or the water. So it didn't, or the fire or the ice really. And then the water would be that 33, that Christ that absorbs, is the ice absorbing the fire. And it's the balance between the two. And it's really, which is the crystal clear water that everything lives on here. That is essentially the Christ. Um, but
Yeah, the
yeah,
crystal.
I don't know how deep down we got. Did you get that picture? Is it
Yeah,
sitting in
man,
there?
take a look. I put both sides up.
Oh wow, look at this, huh? This is
So
this is
here's what I love about, right? And right now I'm looking on the first page, so you should see it looks like it's a sine wave where the bottoms are black and the tops have numbers. And this is how you get to 13. So if you count 1, and then each of these nights, that the bottom where it's dark, that's going to be
Oh
considered
yeah,
like night. So
6 nights.
6 plus 7 equals 13. Death, transition number, which
Yeah.
then this is what's really great. And Nathan, you can definitely go for explaining some 33 stuff. But on the second page of that, if you go down to the bottom right, you're going to see God, source, flow, shadow, 5 elements, 8 directions, 13 phases, tones. When you add that all together, you get 33.
Dude, look, you got the seed, germ, spur, leaf, flower, receptacle, fruit. That's the day divided, so the 7 aspects of the day.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What is receptacle in between flower and
Uh,
fruit? Is that where it gets is that where it gets the sex right there happens?
that would be, well, 6 sex, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I've been,
Which is chlorophyll and the hemoglobin
that's
structure.
what the word Latin, or Latin for 6 was sex. So,
And it's neat that it's recept, like sept is 7, so it's almost like a re-7 tape. I don't know, that's neat. Tackle. It's gonna tackle that 7, baby. Um, this is crazy, Todd. I like this. I could get lost in this. There's the yin and the yang, the source seed, and it flips into 2 triangles pretty much. The above is down, and the black is looks like up. That's neat, dude. M and E, that's me. All right, so let's run down. We haven't had a show here in a couple weeks.
yep.
Todd, tell us. I mean, I've been driving all over the country, plenty of silly experiences, awesome experiences, but tell us real quick, have you been doing some art events on the weekends and whatnot?
Yeah, man. I have every weekend, lots of events. We did a special market here in Columbus, Ohio, called the Mystic Market, and it was excellent. We had a ton of people, a lot of great music. We had people dancing. I was doing tarot. There were people doing Reiki. A ton of great
Wow.
artists. Yeah, it was really really
It
awesome.
sounds like Columbus is pretty hopping for a cultural kind of progressive in a good way scene.
Oh yeah, it's pushing
I noticed
hard.
they took a lot of those progressive movements and a lot of those, old hippie towns and they turned them into liberal madhouses pretty much. But it's everything I hear coming out of Columbus sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great, man. A lot of artists, they're putting themselves out there. I had the pleasure of doing my first like full evening of readings, and it was a lot of fun. A lot of
Wow.
people really seemed happy, and I think we gave some good advice and had some
Wow,
laughs.
that's
So
awesome. That's a
yeah,
Way
big
to
yeah.
go, man.
that's
Thank you.
awesome.
So I appreciate that. um,
That takes a
Otherwise,
lot of energy, man. I bet you were
oh,
drained.
oh man, yeah, it was rough.
Gotta bring those snacks and water.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
my voice was pretty much gone
Preload,
by
have
the end.
backup.
Yeah, it was
Do you
great though.
guys do you guys ever sweat in those scenarios when you're pulling in a lot of energy and you're got a lot of intuition flowing through you and like do your armpits ever just start sweating and like just because you're literally holding like I feel like it's you're holding so much light and you're
Yeah.
pulling does that happen to you guys?
Um.
Like or
Um.
reading something
Depends on what
intense
what
like if you're
context.
like if you're processing something super intense, like do you ever sweat without like, do you ever have perspiration pretty much? Does the
No.
heat inside you like I get my body gets heat generated from my mind like yeah, like it's weird. Like I don't know,
You gotta
man. I'd
keep it
say
Oh,
on
cool,
half
me.
bro.
shows half of our shows, like when you get me on a good half hour, 45-minute run, you can guarantee you I've got like
It's like
some sweat in my armpits and some drips going down my rib cage, man.
That's your blood flowing,
ritual
man.
alchemy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Pumping.
it's something.
All
Well,
cells on deck.
right. And I
That's
think if you think of the word thinking, that's thin king. I mean, and I've always had a strong opinion that the mind in itself is the biggest calorie eater. So
Yeah.
like I'm hyper aware. So I have so much data always coming in through my sense fields, and I'm always like running possibilities and
Yeah.
just, and it's, I think that in itself, thinking is really essentially that should be the number one diet out there. I mean, because if you
Yeah.
think about essentially people that have gained weight, you can almost mirror up a slower mindset, and I'm not saying a fast hyper mind is good. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that it really burns through. I probably have about, most days I have 3 to 4 thousand calories a day, like a lot of calories, and like I could never gain weight, man. I'm 155, 6'2". Like I don't know, and I'm smaller now than I was when I got out of the military at 19, and I think it's because of the energies. I think it's because
Yeah.
of the Jupiter Saturn conjunction. I think it's like a metal rod, man. You've got this metal pole, and you've pretty much got metal in itself is the biggest conductor. Electricity can move the fastest through that. Maybe air, I don't know, but I know that water is a good storage container for electricity, and it can go really far, but it takes us like a long time, or it's slower in the waves. But metal is like, dude, if you touch this end and you had like a super long metal, I mean, it's instant. Like metal is
Solid
like
state.
like a highway, man. Yeah, it's something different. So I think that's what's going on in just the times we're in. We're coming out of it. If you look at the Jupiter Saturn is the biggest. Those are our rulers of form. So that's always going to be what you want to keep big eyes on all the time. You want to know, because we just hit the conjunction in 2020, so they're separating now. And if you think about it, if it's about a 20-year cycle, so it's 10 years right now to the opposition, and that's when you've got almost the full moon aspect of Jupiter to Saturn, and you've got pretty much full separation. That's when we should be separated 6 feet apart. That's when we should be playing all those games. They did it when you should be coming together, and the pan time, and what did they have? A pandemic. They're making pandemonic. That's what that is, pandemic.
Mm,
You
black
know,
magic,
it's
man.
yeah, it is freaking warlocks.
Yep.
It's totally what it is, man.
Uh,
Um,
how about Nathan? Should we go into his vibes?
Absolutely. Tell us where you're at now, Nathan. You up in Minnesota right now? Minnesota.
Yeah, I love the pictures. Caitlin and I went to Mankato to go check out a waterfall today, and um, it was interesting and a gift of humor to see everyone kind of stay on the sidewalk, and go on the path that they're supposed to, and
Yeah.
look at it, and we just took our clothes off and jumped in and swam under the waterfall. And like
Nice.
it was
Awesome.
almost like we were at a zoo, and they're all like observing us.
Oh, that's
I
so
was
weird.
whatever, man. That was
That's what it's there for, man. That's awesome. I'd have done the same thing with you. Yeah.
beautiful.
It's so refreshing. I love, especially when you get really cold water, it's like just dipping into the pure. I mean, and you've got, I'm sure,
Hmm.
some nice cold waters up in Minnesota. I grew up New Hampshire, so similar north latitude, but beautiful. Like you get into like the Black Lakes, so you get these deep bodies of water that are, a stony bottom, nice sandy and pebbles, and I've never really been upstate Minnesota. I've only driven through some of the bottom portions, but it's supposed to be the land of 10,000 lakes, man. And I know they attack Minneapolis hard, so I know there's some good energy rolling in there because they're, with all the BLM shit they did, they really like hit that city just as bad as Portland almost.
Yeah, we got some hills scattered around with giants buried in them still, probably.
Wow.
Hey, it's pretty awesome. Is that up in the old mining areas, like the copper mines and stuff too?
Um, I'm trying to think of where specifically it was, yet there were hills that are obviously almost four-sided, and I don't know if it's here, Illinois. I'm trying to think of that earth shape that's almost like a snake structure.
Okay, the
They might,
Serpent Mound.
yeah, yeah,
That's Ohio, right, Todd? That's you.
Yeah, I think so.
okay. So giants and yeah, all that stuff, and um up north, Duluth is nice. I went biking. Caitlin and I went biking at Cuyuna Lakes. It was I think an old mine, and then so the water's like crystal clear, and you
Oh,
kayak,
wow.
and you
Hmm.
can see old trees like just underneath you as you kayak, and it's like, wow, that looks like a different realm.
Right.
Now you're doing are you doing like retreats up there or I remember you had showed me some stuff about that a while back. I've always kind of liked the idea of like a men's retreat or and then like a woman's retreat, like a week thing. Those kind of things. I don't know, the more I think about it, I think it's
Hmm.
important to have those breaks in life where you kind of just go off, you're around a similar fire, and because the Bach saga tells us that the man can't yell across the fire to the woman and the woman can't yell across the fire to the man. So it's but the so the woman tells the woman what to do and the man tells the man what to do, and really we all tell ourselves what to do essentially. But I mean, we're very we're very different beings when you get right down to it, and we're very much the same. But I think it's important to have those little blips of, not, and for your just yourself too, moments of, where you're just alone for at least a few days, like in quietness and I mean, where you don't talk to anybody and it's weird after 2 or 3 days when you go around somebody and all of a sudden, like, you notice you're talking again and it feels weird to have words come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
I don't know. All those things are just, that's what we're here for, the experiences. I feel like our bodies are a experimental thing that we have that we can throw it through the rigmaroles or whatever, and we can get experiences out of it. I mean, that's pretty much, like think of ayahuasca, like mixing some root and some, I guess, some leaf, and pretty much having the knowledge to know that you need this root so you can get it past a certain barrier, a blood barrier in the body, so it can get to the brain. And so you can pretty much
Mm.
experience the state of before and after, I guess, this thing that we're in right here. And then you pretty much think of all the knowledge that they ended up bringing into this realm through these experiences. And it wasn't always that you needed some thing from the forest, but to have the knowledge and to put things together, and to be provided with the system, I mean, it reminds me of the story of the guy drowning and he's pretty much on his roof and they send him a boat, they send him a helicopter, and then he drowns and dies, and he goes and talks to God and he's like, God, why didn't you save me? I kept waiting for you. And he's like, well, come on, man. I've sent you a boat and a helicopter. And, it's kind of like that's what we're here for. We're here to use this entire thing and adore it. And, um, yeah, man. So, back to the men's retreat question, Nathan. You got anything like that going on? Do you have plans with that? Have you done one recently? What can you tell us about that idea and that philosophy in life of men spending time with men and women spending time with women? What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a great topic to talk about. The first time I learned about I I don't have any plans for a retreat, although I'm confident that I have the capacity and the tools and the ability to like show up and follow through for participating and facilitating that. If
Right.
I was recognized, invited, valued for that. And I experienced the Minnesota Men's Conference, which was started by Robert Bly. So Robert Bly grew up, I think, in southern Minnesota, and is a well-known poet. And he wrote a book called Iron John, which is a really fascinating book. In the, if we're talking about worldviews, Robert Bly would be like a in Spiral Dynamics, the green postmodern, human potential movement worldview. And he also wrote another great book called The Sibling Society and Iron John. I'm trying to think how I even first. I think I was just searching online and um, saw that they were doing a retreat. This must have been in 2015, I want to say. And I worked as a chef for many years in like Phoenix, working raw food and vegetarian restaurants as pasta chef, and worked in Italian restaurants. And so they needed a cook, and through the connection, it was like, well, this is normally, this amount to do this thing. So would you come and cook for 100 men for 3 days? And I was like, I could do that. I know I never had the experience yet. I had the that specific experience I didn't have, but I had the experience of being in a high, fast-paced like environment and delivering under pressure. So that was really eye-opening because they had a Native American from Montana who was Bear Clan, I believe, who flew in, and usually they would have a different elder from a different country, because if you watch videos on Robert Bly on YouTube, you'll see that he, I don't remember what university he went to, but he had the ability to go all over the world, right? So he starts collecting like all these divination people, and he comes back to the Midwest, and they start doing the Minnesota Men's Conference. And I think I'm not sure, the one of the first people was Malidoma Somé. Um, So if you go to the Evolve Care Solutions server and you go under the healing, wake up category and family dynamics, there's a audio of Melodoma Somé that's called "Of Water in the Spirit," and he's from Africa. And so Robert Bly connected with him, and then he started coming to the conference to actually oversee the the ritual of, whatever type of ritual that they were doing, to have some solid foundation and not have it be some, new age kind of fluff. And so then they had different people come, and when I went there, they had, I think it was a man from LA. um and so they had a lodge. It was up north past Duluth in Ely, Minnesota, on this beautiful resort. And they had a large cabin for storytelling. So the elders, and there's a bunch of talks if you go to the Minnesota Men's Conference YouTube page. A lot of those recordings are free on there. And they had James Hillman was a regular there, who was the author of The Soul's Code, who was one of Jung's understudies. So really vast array of like all these characters coming together to bring coherence and give a structure to the development of the masculine or the male psyche. And it was just beautiful because when I went, there was storytelling. Like the first night, we all got around a fire, and there was a story that was told, and then there was a ritual that we did that um, we then have this item that we keep in our as our totem, um, which I've used later on, and it's always been this element of meaning that comes with me. Um, we all jumped into the lake up there when it was cold. There was a mass ritual of that included um, different shrines that were set up and drumming. There was a man from Minneapolis who was a professional percussionist, so he brought djembes and drums to teach people drumming. There was learning how to, start a fire, having nothing,
That's
and
super useful.
martial arts.
Also
Yeah, a lot
super
of
useful.
yeah, a lot an integral aspect of that. There were some things that I saw that were like limits, and that was just a gift to notice
Hmm.
worldviews because I'm really into studying like spiral dynamics and Ken Wilber's work of how consciousness or paradigms evolve, and so I noticed like words people will use, and that usually will gift clarity of what primary worldview they might be operating through or seeing the world through.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so that's my experience with the men's conference, and I think Robert Bly actually had there was one that was both for couples or men and women that was called the Great Mother Conference that I believe was on the East Coast. So to answer your question, um, you know, the other aspect of the feminine ceremonies, I was with a partner in Arizona for about 3 or 4 years who was a midwife, and so did she helped facilitate red tent events in Phoenix, and there was also a men's group that would meet up like not too far away in different buildings, so they would go do their moon lodge, and then we would go and you talk about different aspects of whatever was coming up. We could just sum that up as outrageous pain, however you want to. All the things are included in outrageous pain, and all of the ways to connect and empathize and bring coherence to have um, more outrageous love, moving out of that.
That's awesome, man. That's good stuff. Do you find when you after you go through something like that, do you feel revitalized, like more of a something positive that you're living for type thing inside of you?
Yeah, I believe that was there to some degree already. I remember the, the man who was facilitating the whole um, 3-day workshop and runs the program. I had asked him if he had heard of like spiral dynamics and some of these integral modalities, and I think I gifted him a spiral dynamics book because he was in, I believe, Wisconsin, and really involved with tech companies and all these things. And I was like, man, spiral dynamics, you need to know this if you're in business or an organization. And um, yeah, I'm trying to think where I was going with that thought. What was the question that you asked?
It's cool, man. That Tell us,
But
Nathan, tell us real quick about the chestahedron. That would almost be a great segue into that. That's like I mean, that's going to be one of the most sacred things you've shown me. And
the chestahedron, that was meaningful connecting with you on here. and then sharing your human design information, and we did some physical mail, and then I assembled a chest stained glass chestahedron, and, and I learned about that through, I think it was the Resonance Academy, and what's his name, Adam Apollo, um, was talking about it because I was learning about the geometry of organs and with like endocrines and wanting to know the specific structures to use consciousness in sessions to balance that. Because if we balance things at a, uh, how would you call it, like a higher order of causation, then the lower aspects will adhere to that. They're within
They'll
that
kind of
template.
fall in
Like
line.
if you heal the yeah, yeah. So that chestahedron, um, then I got into Frank Chester and got his book. I saw that template, like, wow, I don't want to just cut this out in paper. I want to make it. And I had never done stained glass before, and that was like one of the first things I made with stained glass was a three-dimensional chestahedron. So I was like, wow, I just made this.
I've realized that shape right there is what happens when you take the pyramid and you open your pyramid. It's the
Mm.
it's the fire, the cosmic fire that comes out of the if you look at this shape and you study it, it's and it's perfect in so many ways. The angles that it has, the number of vortexes, sides, vertices, and it highly revolves around 7, if I'm not mistaken. And it's literally the true, I think it's the true pyramidal. It's the fire and the pyramid, so it's the body and the fire. And with a closed pyramid, there's nothing holding that, so there's no body that's inhabited. So with a pyramid, when it opens up to receive that Chesterhedron, that's like its crystalline aspect. So you've got the opposite of that would be opaque. So those two natures coming together right there, that clear attracting in the sun and then that opaque moon holding it. um it's a really brilliant design. I mean, I think, and it's non-repeating. I think when you spiral this out in Fibonacci, it pretty much shows you how it can literally, I mean, that's a pretty magical thing to have something that doesn't repeat, like prime numbers, and I mean, just things that are isolated. They're almost like the impurities, essentially. You can't whittle them down to anything else other than this or that. And that's what you got. That's the 13. Like us here, I feel like our system is really focused heavy on 13, which is a 7 and a 6 essentially. And the 6 is huge, the 7 is, I mean, they're all huge here. I mean, every single one of them are a critical nature of our reality. I mean, this is a real core place to learn movement. So I mean, you're pretty much you're practicing being a seed, making a blueprint. And essentially that's how you will move. So you're going to take that blueprint, you're going to take how you've made choices here, how you've gone through all these experiences and colored your blueprint pretty much. And then you're going to take that seed and you're going to know the conditions that it needs to grow in, and you're gonna have a certain expectation on what's gonna grow. You don't plant a avocado tree and expect a pineapple. I mean, it's right. I mean, that's my opinion is essentially that's our biggest aspect of this realm is learning pure movement, where movement starts and ends in the heart essentially. So earth is an anagram for heart, and you really have a place where that's why you can do all these things here, because you're supposed to think from the heart, You're supposed to think compassionately. You're supposed to act from the heart. Act compassionately, and all of these things come in through the heart, and that's why the heart essentially has an incredible magnetic field that dwarfs that of the brains, and it shows you that it's like the wave for the particle that is the smaller, more pinpoint focused mind. So the heart really feeds that mind, and but they've taken this world and they've made it mind heavy. They've really tried to take the heart out everywhere, and I mean, look what just happened. I think last night, the eviction moratorium or whatever expired. So you're about to see like a real non-compassionate world coming up with, I mean, and essentially I guess these people that probably haven't been paying rent for over a year and a half, I mean, if they're just splurging on like new TVs and shit, and I mean, yeah, sometimes you got to learn a lesson. But I mean, essentially, I feel like it's going to get pretty nasty coming up. So it's just important to understand where that huge power play is, and really that sense of eternity is the heart. It's the only thing that really matters in the end. It birthed the mind and the logos. Like, you wouldn't even have a mind or a logos or any kind of reason and order without it being a gift of love, through love. It's not they want to make it like a big bang, like it's a logical necessity through the mind. And that's just not how it is. Anything, at any moment, this thing can be just completely shut off, wiped. At any moment, everything could change in the blink of an eye. I mean, it's absolutely a creation. There's an absolute ultimate being holding down this entire creation within its consciousness. And it's probably us as individuals broken up, holding together the whole thing in consciousness, in one consciousness. And we need to get control of our consciousness, of our one consciousness. That's why they try to keep us fractal and divided, red and blue, left and right, and all this and that. And it's so that we don't end up in the middle on the central pillar, the clear. The symbol for the sun, you know how it's got the dot in the middle and then it's got the outer ring. Guess where and you know how we've told multiple times that the clear earth's the black. That's the first move. So what you have essentially in the symbol for the sun is there's three circles if you look closely. There's the center point, and then there's the space in between, and then there's the outer black ring. And the space in between is the clear sun, is the original sun that's eternal. It's the crystal, it's the Christall. It's that which brings light. The crystals focus light. They bring a sun. If I took my big ass crystal ball outside and set it down in the grass on its stand, it would make a little sun underneath it, and a mirror would reflect it back up off the ground from where it came from. So the black is the center point and the black is the outer ring. So when it gave birth right there, it did that yin yang thing on the inside where it split into two. So that birth into black, it made an inner black and an outer black at the same time, and it held down the fort of the now, the constant clear, the unseen. That's why nothing's gonna probably ever pop in, because it's unseen. It's clear. It's something that you wouldn't be able to pick up with any of your senses. It would no smell, no taste, no hearing, no sight, none of it. It's all clear and it's transparent. It's the how you got here. It's two sexes in one. It's a tranny. It's the parentless. There's no parent. It's the eternal. I mean, tell me, somebody, please take me past the clear. It doesn't. I mean, is it the light coming into the clear? Is that what it's gonna? I mean, but if you think about it, that first moment of which is essentially quartz getting clearer and clearer and clearer through time, and then essentially you have this crystal clear thing that can bring in and focus light. And then when you do this, you get life. You get all these, you get an anode and a cathode system set up, and you get things grounding out. This is a big negative body system, earth and water here. So those both absorb. Everything here absorbs light. Everything here is a black hole absorbing light. Everything. And that's we're all training to be mini black holes right now. And how do you hold light? How do you absorb your light? How do you take in the fire and the air? Because that's what you're absorbing. The two, you're pretty much a negative thing, and the positive shit's flowing into you, and then you're sending it back out through the ground, and it leaves a body deposit, a sound deposit on you, which is why we're all frequencies. And that's why when you hold a certain inner consciousness or a certain frequency, it really, I don't want to say it doesn't matter what you do physically, but you're going to resonate to your frequency. So even somebody that, I just like to use body, figure, and type because I think it's a big thing. I think you resonate. I think your posture, I think everything comes into play in terms of where your energy is essentially and like what you're holding or what you're aware of. And it shows. And it comes out into this realm like that's how everything appears is from the inside out, and people just want to slap the outside up against the outside all the time and try to change the outside. And we all know it's about the inner work, and then it appears and it manifests. Um, let's get some more from Nathan, man. Nathan, tell us about. Let me see here. Um, yeah, what do you want to talk about, Nathan? If you've had one subject that you want to share, man, just what is it, brother? You tell me. How
I'm
about-
going back to the Mayan stuff real quick, and I'll I could probably weave it all together up to that moment. Just to share when I first got in. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, jump out and jump back in. Yeah. Yeah, just hang up the call and then join the call. No, he's doing it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. All right, I'm gonna go on mute and then you're good to go, Nathan. Go ahead.
So the 2012 um books I I was reading. I think I got into like Daniel Pinchbeck first, and I read his book, and then that led to, or before that was Johann Karlman, 2012, and the Transformation of Consciousness, and then the Myocosmogenesis of 2012, and that picture that I was looking at, that drawing that you had, I remember that in that book of those 13 steps of how they're saying, we're seeing the day as, this would be the day and the night would be one day, and they're looking at it as like the day a day and the night is another day. So that's my commentary on that drawing that I saw on there that reminded me of that. And the chestahedron, that that picture that I put in there was from that video where he's describing, he shows the, what is it, Newt, Egyptian um picture, and the sun and all the little, he zooms in on it and they're all bells. And so I was like, what? That's a bell when you spin it? So I made a chestahedron out of like cardboard and then hooked it up to a drill because I wanted to see it spin, and it turns into a bell. And it's interesting in that picture, the last one that I posted, you're talking about the sun glyph, and right there you see the circle, and then there's that transparent circle, and then you have the periphery on the outside. So I thought that was a nice connection. And hearing you mention the 33, that was you mentioned that, and that is actually what hexagram the sun is in right now. I could share more about that, or you can to the Evolve Care Solutions Discord server under current transits. Um, if you want, if there's anything about that that you're curious, or I thought that was an interesting tie-in. The programming, yeah. So the gene keys for those who are listening is just another euphemism for hexagram that Richard Rudd created the well, he synthesized a new system called gene keys. He worked with Ra, who had his encounter, which was almost like a
Happy
forced download.
7-Eleven. My
It's
bad.
Happy 7-Eleven. And so Richard Rudd worked with him, and then he broke off and made gene keys. And it's just interesting going back to like older human design material, and the the more I just kind of look at all these different systems, including the Bible. He had a Bible there when he was like, in his words, going mad, or having going to the other side and mutating. And so really at the core of human design, which is funny because there's a lot of new age people into it, and like LA, it's almost like a buzzword on Instagram, which I'm not on Instagram, but that Raw integrated the Bible into it. The
Wow.
Bible is in the numbers and numerology. So the gene keys, we're just talking about hexagram, and it's just interesting that that's 33. And it's also interesting, Barry, you were mentioning earlier of you know your trip in the going out into nature and everything, and that's the um, it's retreat right now. At 33 is retreating and basically going into ourself. So there's
Absolutely.
a development through the lines, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth line in the hexagram. And it moves from less complex to more complex. And
Hmm.
so the way Rudd translates that in the gene keys is moving from the unconscious to the conscious. And he's using the word shadow to describe the unconscious. And he says that there is a repressive function and a reactive function of the shadow. And so when we look at the 33rd shadow, the sun is in gate. Gate, hexagram, and gene keys are all the same concept we're pointing to, is the sanskaras, and getting caught in the net of our own making, forgetting, or just being a separate self, um, not having moved to true self. And true self defined as like the seamless code of the universe, um, and not even being aware that there's a unique self, like a unique imprint of whether it's our Mayan um, sun sign, or our natal chart, or our hologenetic gene keys profile, or our human design profile. Not even being aware, it's just a separate self. So it's all about like we're basically in separate self. There's a puzzle piece without a puzzle, just
Hmm.
alone. And this shadow aspect of the 33 is keeping us deeply asleep by concealing the past. And ensures that we're remaining in the illusion, in the separate self, having the misperception of aloneness. And the repressed shadow shows up as extremely hidden, right? And this can be people who might not have the tools or resources yet, whatever it is, to be able to be recognized or recognize themselves, to be able to connect. Um, they just different experiences, having experience of being forgotten in the world or hiding from people. It could be people hiding in their work, right? Because it's not just, it shows up in overt or subtle, direct, indirect ways.
Hmm.
Um, Usually like emotional literacy or communication illiteracy can keep people kind of behind the screen, and um,
At the
reactive
Ring of
shadow,
Trials here, that's kind of that area,
right?
right?
Right. So the those are the codons, is also another aspect of gene keys, is he's correlating the hexagram with the codon groupings of the amino acids. And yeah, that's the ring of trials. So it's basically a punctuation or the terminator stop codon. So basically reflecting and retreating, which is, what you're doing, buried, going camping, going away. I've been silent, like into myself in my studies, like the last few days.
Absolutely,
Let's see where the
absolutely.
yeah.
And then
Yeah,
the first
so
7 instances of Fibonacci add up to 33. The 1, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
5, 8, 13, which you have on your paper, Todd.
Yeah, right. Um,
yeah, so
so
people could be moving through the shadow right now. They might be extremely hidden, or they're censoring themselves,
Hmm. I
winding the
found that
wounds.
I'm in my ninth house too. Well, I just got out of my ninth and just entered my 10th. And I noticed this year that every year when I hit my ninth house, and ninth house is associated with long travels, I'm always traveling. I'm always driving across
Mhm,
country. I'm always going out to either see my boy or just do something where I'm traveling very far, like for a week or 2 weeks at a time. And it always hits like in my ninth house. And it's funny too, because I have that certain time of year where I have my deep inner trials. My hardest time is typically September, where I'm hitting my 12th house. And I noticed that my whole year's worth of decisions is pretty much
mhm,
everything is coming down to this pinpoint where I've got to make a choice. And it's it's a lot of years have been rough in my Septembers. And I try to just get through them now, but it seems like everything comes at you. If you were lazy on anything, if you overdid something, I just, that 12th house for me, I get a little bit depressed sometimes, and then I get popped right off late October into my first. So I get a lot of that individual time again where I just want to go self-reflect. It's like a brand new seed popping out of the soil. You're very vulnerable at that point right there as well. A lot of things like to eat you. Think of like fresh, think fresh buds in the forest, like fresh, little sprouts and shit. And then second, third house, you're just like a plant growing. Like you're starting to realize, okay, I've got green leaves. Everything has green leaves. You start to see that you're part of something. You've got a body. And then boom, third house, you start to get your first like identical traits of some of your own colors. And fourth house, boom, family, you start to see other things that are like you that have your colors, and you notice that there's other types of families, and then boom, right through fifth, sixth, seventh, you're getting in relationships with, other plants, and realizing there's other sexes within my family. And yeah, man, it goes all the way up to the 10th, where you have your own fruit, seed, flower, and you've got your past, present, and future all up hanging on the plant at the same time, which is where I'm supposed to be in the 10th right now, kind of everything in one. And then Aquarius is coming up in the 11th for me, my dream stage, which is always a neat time because it reflects on Virgo energy, where we're at in the year, like August energy. So I'm coming up on that, and that's when you pretty much pick out, your dreams. And it's good to just be very open and imaginative and artsy and, bountiful in nature, and just a lot coming in, a lot to choose from and a lot to dream. And then that 12th, when I go through that critical time, that's going to be germination, when the seed gets germinated, when the dream gets chosen, so to speak, uh, for the new year.
Soul, your soul growth. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, the undoing and the soul growth, and even the transit with the hexagram I was reading is evaluation in retreat, the mindset that turns retreat into victory.
Hmm.
Mm. Yeah, I
So,
always feel rejuvenated too, like when I do things like that. It's like sometimes it feels like home appreciation. Like when you're away from
uh,
home, like you kind of, you miss those comforts of your family, of your bed, everything, you just know where all your, physical needs can be met, your spiritual need, everything is there. And when you're away from it, it's kind of, it's pretty taxing, I think, on your energy system, but it's good. Like it's a good, I don't know. I think of going to different areas when you have to associate with different cultures and people. Like it's good for the soul.
Uh,
Yeah, I think it's
Ellie and
good to
Ed
make.
uh, give some great comments. Ellie and Ed says you can feel the magnetic field of the heart 6 feet apart.
You absolutely can.
for joining the show.
Yeah, it's the heart's incredible. I mean, that's really gonna be our in-game tech. Our real tech is our heart technology. So everything, and let's not think of the heart necessarily as the pump in your chest. I mean, I look at the heart as the black sun, as Leo. Leo rules the back, and the heart is probably really the spine. Out of the spine comes the whole body and comes the head. I mean, it's like this center bar, and it's like a sine wave. It's your serpent. It's pretty much your, supposed to be your cosmic fire or kundalini energy. It's that black sun that sends out light in every direction for everywhere and ever. And it's like, once again, the Bach Saga tells us, even the farthest stars that we discover with the best telescopes coming up, light is still going, shining past those stars. So I mean, they're still reflecting light back that far out. So it just shows you that it's going out everywhere. And that's, in my opinion, is what the spine is. There's probably some kind of big spinal field, some cosmic field off your spine. I think that the pressure that's stored within your spine is insane amounts of pressure. It's some kind of intelligent gas system. I mean,
Smart guess.
I don't know. Right. That's what, I swear that the retention of a fart, it goes up your spine. I think it does. I I swear it does. I think it does. It right up the sphincter.
Yeah, yeah, you're probably right. uh,
Yeah. Well,
uh,
and I've noticed too that when I've tried that, like I can, when I'm going to like move something in my neck, like pop my neck or something, like I can get extra pressure in there like right away. It's kind of neat.
have you heard
Yep.
of the term hydrus?
Hydra. Tell me about Hydrus.
Well, a hydra is supposedly the name of a water serpent. Supposedly, this
That's
is the serpent we live in.
that's
Let's see here.
interesting.
I
The
put it up.
constellation.
It's called the Fabulous Water Serpent, 1660s, from Latin hydrus, uh, from Greek hydros, or quotations, water snake. See Hydra. The constellation, attested by 1670s in English, was one of the 11 added to Ptolemy's list in the 1610s by Flemish cartographer Petrus Plancius after Europeans began
Yeah,
to explore the southern hemisphere.
it's the biggest constellation. It's got a lot of name. Hydra the snake. It pretty much goes across the whole entire sky, if I'm not mistaken. Right across the north. Um, I think Draco might be another name for it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I made a
and
piece of art actually with that. Well, with that idea, I'll post it in the chat. I think you guys.
yeah, that's supposed to be the snake too. There's a lot of snake symbology, like Hercules wrestling the snake, the man with his foot on the snake's head, Ophiuchus. I mean, you've got all these different man wrestling snake stories, and it would make sense. We're here, and then think about a snake is a sine wave, so a water is like, to me, a body for fire. So essentially, we're mostly water, which is hydrogen and oxygen. And hydrogen, I think, is that snake. I think it's the first element. Everything falls down from that, per se, in a pyramidal form. So everything that we have in this realm is essentially coming as some aspect of hydrogen falling. And all the noble gases spring out from that, all of our everything, the metals, everything comes from this water snake, or this hydrogen, the high dragon, right? I mean, it's this, and it could be, it's water's a neat thing, man. I mean, water's a this realm. We've got, opposing cardinal earth is cardinal water, and that's where Jupiter exalts. We've got the moon ruling it right there. It's, we're in it right now. We're sidereally, probably right in the middle of sidereal Cancer, and Mars is in Cancer. So that's Mars is debilitated, which is our action, our muscle, our forcefulness, and that will get you in trouble right now. That will be something that just won't work well with the energy, because Mars is not in the place where he does that kind of thing. He's in his most, he needs to rest. He needs to be nurtured. He needs to just relax, keep on with your duties, but, don't try to start new forceful tasks. Don't just, yeah, I don't know. It's a time of nurture for Mars.
Chill.
It's a time, it like, don't, like, mechanical projects. Shit can get you in trouble when, like, plumbing says never do plumbing projects when Mars is in Cancer. That's an old one. But like, you just won't get it to work. It just, yeah. You just rack your knuckles. And I just had an experience on my road trip where I pretty much had the alternator go out, and I battled it and battled it and battled until I got stranded twice. And then I essentially had a friend drive 3 hours from Colorado and out to the Kansas state line, help me install it. But I mean, it came down to a stripped
What a
bolt.
friend. Let's
Oh, dude,
let's celebrate that friend.
Yeah, for real.
Thank
oh my God,
you,
yeah,
friend.
Chad. Yeah, Chad is an amazing friend.
Thank
It
you,
was just
Chad.
one of those things. He just said, "Hey, man, I going on a road trip." He said, "Stop by," and I said, "All right." It was about the perfect landing spot for a huge first day run. It was like 20 something hours. So I kind of first time
Wow.
ever meeting him, I was about delirious. He had an awesome family. And I had my little girl with me, so she really loved the kids and pretty much found a best friend in one of their little girls. And then we ended up, of course, going up for a couple weeks into Idaho, Montana, and everything. And then this all happened coming back through. I'd stopped at his house again. And then I took off from his house. He kind of let me crash, shower, freaking fed me. I mean, he's just guy's an angel. And I had nothing. Like I literally was down to the closest alternator was Kansas City in front of me. There was one in Denver finally that I had found, but like I tried running a battery with alternator and I only made it like 50, 60 miles and I was on the highway again, broken down. But
Dang.
I broke down in the exact, like, and out west, there's not a lot of shade. So when you hit a bridge area, there's a little strip of shade. So my car, the juice that it had in it from a full battery, brand new, put me all the way, and it finally stopped at like 1 mile an hour, and then finally stopped, and the nose of the car hit the shade of the bridge. And I was like, no way, man. What a perfect
There
little
you go.
spot for if you're gonna break down, hey, at least I got some shade. And it put me right near a farmer's house where I could go charge my battery, get it into town off the highway without $150 tow like the first time. And yeah, it's quite the experience. So Mars and Cancer, and it was the result. I had tons of intuition flooding in from plenty of years right now in the past with my alternator where I could have fixed this. Even Chad himself said, let's fix it at his house before I left. I was like, no, I'm good.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had so many chances to fix this thing. It's rated for 150,000 miles. I have 230,000 on my car. And I've put all those on it in like 5, 6 years. So, and it was going out last year, and it does it when I go out west because the magnetic energy is different out there, the electromagnetic spectrum. You've got everything kind of, it's just a whole different nature for my car out there than it is out here pushing out. I'm in ego land on the East Coast, and when you go out there, you're in kind of, think of like everything comes to a point where everything goes out from a point here. Out there, I think of a cactus sitting in the middle of a desert by itself, or one tree sitting by itself. You've got the whole entire field and manifesting into a single point in that tree out there. That's how that energy is. And then out here, you've got everything manifesting from all these points, and everything's blooming everywhere. That's just the Jupiterian energy of this side over here, and how Saturn and how Jupiter work on the lands, and how they keep the Argonic line, which is running right down the center of our country, the Mississippi and shit. All the low areas are that heaviest, densest gas. It's pushing down. It's some kind of heavy gas sits there, pushes on the land. It's right across the New Madrid. So I'm pretty sure that they, of course, know about it all. And that's why Bill Gates bought up all the Arkansas land, because there's a big chunk of the organic energy that goes through there. That's also where you have your diamond fields and all your super quartz crystalline areas where they could build their next CERN on a new crystalline mountain range like they did in Italy and like they did in California. They look for silica belts. So they take those silica belts and they know the power of silica. It's incredible. It matches it's like a carbon copy. It matches the hex pattern, except it's got just a super, super energy output from it. Like silica stores so much power. It's incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, it's probably part of our future with our heart energy, I imagine. Silica in itself is the quartz crystal energy. So, I mean, in our whole world, they're just using it in the Antichrist way. All of our anti-crystal, right? So they're
Right.
taking it and they're making it the black crystal. It's absorbing
Antimatter,
our,
really.
it is. It's absorbing our
Just
energy. That's why.
anti. It's
And it takes magnetism in order to touch your phone, to do all this touch screen stuff. I took a magnet and put it on my thumbprint thing on my phone, and it lit up my thumbprint area like I was trying to log into my phone. So it shows me that my body's obviously a magnet, and this thing uses my magnetic energy to interact. It's like a sea of potential. they
Oh,
they keep it they keep it at a state where I pour into it.
uh,
So we're all draining into it. Is that someone's mic?
yeah, Brad has joined.
oh yeah, man. What's up, Barry? How's it going, man? What's up, Todd?
What's up, Ben? Ben's
Excited to
popping
join
in.
you. you guys are talking about my awesome crystal quartz countertops. I had a note to say to that. I noticed this a while ago about the magnetic field and your energy. Like, if you notice those gloves that you have like the fingerprint sensors on them, that you can still use your like smartphone on it. I figured out that if you lick those gloves, like, if you lick gloves that don't allow you to like mess with your phone, if you lick them and add some water to it, it'll actually work on your touchscreen and on your fingerprint sensor. I never tested it enough to like see if it.
So it's like water with it. It's like water. That's neat. Or maybe water has the magnetism in it.
I think it, in my opinion, I think it would like amplify the magnet, like your magnetic energy with it, because it's kind of a conduit, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is.
things like
It's a
that.
super conduit.
But you were saying about how quartz, they're using it for dark energy. I would have a question to that, because I literally sell quartz countertops, and they're 90% silica, and then the other 10% is like a polymer resin, which just increases the capacity. What would you say? What would you say to that? The people who are now putting quartz like straight into their homes, into their kitchen, with their cooking on, like absorbing all that family energy. Like, I don't know. What's your
I think
thoughts
that's
on that?
great. No, I think something like that is a positive. So if you take it in its essentially natural form, which is what they're cutting slabs out and polishing them, I mean, you're putting crystals in your home. Granite in itself is, the same thing. It's a even marble. All of these emit certain frequencies, and I think that in itself is good. I
The
just
first
look at our phones are different, our electronics are different. They use the technologies of gold, silver, crystal, quartz, all these different metals and all these different elements, and they're using them in a way where it feels it's taking stuff from us, instead of, and granted, I do feel where it puts stuff into us too, but like I feel like that both of those can be manipulated right there. And I mean, if you're going to use technology like that, let's draw the bad things out of us and put good things in us. And I don't feel like that's how it's used at all. And it's, and that's the nature of this game, is that literally anything's possible. It's free will in itself is essential to be able to choose to not, you can't just have some god pop in here and say, oh, whoa, 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 we're not going to do that. I mean, that
Why
wouldn't be
not?
acceptable, right? I mean, we are that God. Like, we're
Yeah,
the
yeah,
ones
yeah,
that
yeah.
are in the human bodies that need to say that. And
Yeah.
I mean, we are the ones that know this realm better than anything. Anything that popped in from the outside wouldn't have the type of lens and the type of ability to affect change that we do. We have huge capabilities to affect change from this seat we're in. We're all powerful creators right here. And the thing is it's known too. The only ones that don't know it are us, the creators ourselves. And it's like a giant, like, I feel like we're on prime time,
Well, not all of us.
set.
Not all of us.
I know, not all of us, but I mean, essentially, if our mass consciousness is that way, then we kind of, it's all of us in a way. Like, you're only as fast as your slowest member type thing.
That is
Where
true.
this one over here is picking its nose, man. Come on. I mean, it's not like you're making us all look bad, like you care about some kind of cosmic image. It's more of an efficiency thing, I think. I think it's more of a self-knowing, like a responsibility that you would hold what you are. Um, because I think the more that people don't know what they are, the more they can't comprehend what kind of great responsibility that they have. Because we really do. We really, I mean, it's, why would we keep passing things down for the kids to do? I mean, why wouldn't at any point we all just stop and say, nope, we're going to change this now? And I mean, it just feels like a constant push into the future where, like, nobody ever wants to do, nobody ever wants to try, nobody ever wants to live their spiritual truths. They all just want to talk about it, they want to think about it. Nobody really wants to do any of it, though. I mean, that part kind of sucks. um I don't know. And that's a big thing
Hey, we're
when
out here
you're a big
trying. We're out here
yeah, for
trying.
real. For real.
Shit, man.
I think
I've,
Nathan's an
I've
awesome
heard
example at that too. Ben, you are. I mean, Todd, obviously, all of us are. We're giving it our A game, you know.
shit, man. I will say that I've heard from a lot of sources that like working with granite, like a lot of the granite is radioactive, and like when I first started working where I'm working at now, I kind of took like the Mason approach to it. That like I'm trying to do my best out here working this stone, get it to be someone's like nicest countertop. And I noticed as I was working on the stone, polishing it, cutting it down, things like that, I would start to think about things that were going on in my life, and I started to relate the thoughts in my head to what I was like physically working on and touching. And this goes back to the whole God principle. And some of them, it's really funny, the more expensive stones are the most beautiful. They have all these different patterns in, but they're also like the most brittle, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
one little funny story where it's happened to me 2 or 3 times, and other people at the shop it's happened to. Like you'll be going over and polishing a part on a stone or polishing an idea for lack of for depth or whatever. So you're polishing the stone, and as you're polishing it, you go down, you feel the cracks, you see like 3 or 4 in there, and you mark them out, and you work on one. And as your thoughts line up, you're like, oh, this is a good thought, and your product's finished, it looks good. And then there was this one time we were working on that stuff, and I had like 4 or 5 marks marked out, and I forget which epiphany it was. It sucks that I can't remember, but I was working on one, and I knew I had 2 left, like 2 big holes where there was this material missing from. And the general idea is that you remove material, you can't put it back, or if it's not there, it's never going to be back. But there are multiple times and instances where I went to go work on cracks that I've known were there and knew that for a fact they were there, had them marked out and everything, put my finger on them, and then they're just gone. And I look up and I just have this weird like epiphany of like, this is how it's meant to be. And I guess that kind of just goes into the whole I don't know, I throwing it out there.
That's
It's
cool.
kind of
I totally
cool.
get that. I totally have had experiences where architecture, like buildings and stuff or stuff like that, where I'd be like, that building wasn't there before, and they'd be like, yeah, you just didn't see it. I'm like, no, my memory is pretty good. Like buildings just appear. I don't think it's that they just appear. It's just you're like phasing to different like frequencies, you know. You can
Right.
just sort of
I
tune
would
in.
agree.
Yeah, you go into a different frequency that, like, well, I my best example is sort of a wormhole story. If you guys want to hear that.
Yeah. Tell us.
All right.
To
So,
it.
we were at the grocery store getting some snacks, and I don't know if you guys might be familiar with Kroger, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Kroger is for anyone who isn't, it's just a regular grocery store. But we go to get snacks, and we get the snacks, do the checkout. As we're walking out, it was just like all of a sudden everything stopped and all the noise stopped. Everyone was like almost, it was like they were looking at us, but they weren't physically looking at us. And we like just walked outside and out the escalators, and then it was just like whoop, like whoosh, right back. And I looked over at my friends; they too experienced it, and it was just like nothing had happened, and yet we all experienced that sense of like everything stopping, and we just walked through a little bubble.
I've had instances like that where it just seems like time stops for a second. It's still moving. It feels like it's still alive, but it just freezes, and it's like I think I went on like a venture for that. It was called like 0 point energy or 0 point focus, something like that. But
Nice. How about Nathan? Do you have any time displacement stories you would like to share?
Most of them were in psychedelic ritual or like Native American church. Definitely time just didn't exist
Yeah.
was a concept. And the other experience that I had was through a non-invasive frequency and magnetic technology from a neurologist that I met through somebody at a farmer's
Wow.
market randomly. Minneapolis. I went to Minneapolis farmer's market and I met someone connected me to this neurologist, and he first was into like yoga, and then he got into um, psychiatry, and then he got into neurology and worked at Mayo Clinic in Minneapolis, and had you people who had narcolepsy, and they're like leaving their body,
Yeah.
and so that drew him to make this technology, which through I don't know how, man. I just end up in these weird places sometimes. And the first time I experienced his technology in his house, um, it's all I remember was him explaining. I went there, I think, with my roommate at the time, and then it was him and like one of his business partners, and he's like, "Okay, all you need to do is just basically relax and feel your body." And I'm like, "Okay." And I'd brought another piece of technology that I have called the Neurophone, um, that Patrick Flanagan made, and so I was using that with ultrasonic gel on the sensors on my head that puts me in an alpha state. And I wanted to see what it would do with that,
Nice.
the other technology. And I remember he's like, "There's gonna be sound playing through the lounge up, on the base of the Shushumna, the Kundalini line, and speakers in a magnetic field, and you're gonna feel vibration through the speakers along the spine in the chair of the lounge." So then we recline and he starts the track, and we're all like, in these his first prototype chairs that he had, but then he developed a different one later on, and like 10-15 minutes in, I was just gone. Like I was in the causal body. Like Ken Wilber would talk about the different states, say waking, dreaming, deep sleep, moving from the beta, alpha, theta, delta, and seeing your physical body in a waking state, and dream body when you're in theta, and um, then your causal body where you're just pure witness or suchness observing, and there's no like dream body reference. And so it moved to the void basically. And um before he started the music track, he's like, "This is going to be an hour long." And so like 15 minutes in, I was just nowhere. And then i I remember seeing, like, towards the end, I guess, I was a witness flying over the scene that seemed to be Ireland, and the these people on horses, definitely king, time that someone was being backed up on a horse, on a cliff, like they wanted to arrest this person or execute them and throw them off the cliff. And I was like, "Is that me?" I didn't it didn't that didn't come up to me at the time, but I was just like, "Why did I?" It was so bizarre and random. And then before I know it, the track ends and my eyes are slowly opening, and I'm like, "What just happened?" And we recline the chairs up, and he's like, "So, what did you notice?" And I'm like, "Uh, nothing." Like I was just not there, but I was there. So those two experiences were, I think, the ones that come up when you ask about no time reference.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, man, that's pretty wild. That's pretty awesome, man.
Um, I had an incident too where I had a super slow mo years ago playing frisbee, and like I did this crazy behind the back throw, and it was really impractical. But my friend, it was like our frequencies aligned where it was just like slow mo. Like he saw it, went for it, caught it, and it was just like whoop, right back to like normal. It was super wild.
Yeah, getting in the zone. Um,
That's
I
a good
wouldn't.
word for it.
I'm curious. Yeah, if that has to do with just whole brain coherence, and there you have like in the body talk system, we learned about the distinction between intuition and structured intuition, and having like a scaffolding, a protocol or some technique, like in this case, frisbee, of the body memory and the left brain aspect of it, and then also just the fun and creativity aspect in the
Yeah,
right brain, and both of those synergizing to the point where you experience a like a wormhole moment, and you move from, was it, I think William Tiller, I want to say, did a lot of consciousness studies. I think it's in the book Vibrational Medicine. They're talking about that movement from the space time to the time space,
yeah.
and I wonder if that has to do with the whole brain coherence, that you're moving, or you're peaking, or the senses are going beyond just the five senses, and you're moving to the subtle body, and the subtle senses kick in more. So it
Right.
seems it seems different to the normal senses, yet it's always there.
I almost wonder if it's just like memory though too, right? Like you can like when I've edited video for years, and it's like would I see or events or like look at them in my head, so to speak. Like I can edit them, or I could do time warps or something like that. Um, I don't know. It's just a weird thought on that. Um, let's see. When did we start? 7:52. So it's been an hour and a half almost. You guys want to do some divination, perhaps, or should we? I lose
To that.
everybody. Although Nathan, I feel like we should talk about Napster. And, who is the guy you mentioned too? Aaron Schwartz.
Right. So learning another divination of the destiny cards, which you can go onto the my server, and I have the books in there you can read, and they talk about how that's he correlates it. The book that was written, I think, 1896 or something like that, and he's talking about, like, the first chapter he's referencing uh, a Revelation, and talking about the seven thunders, right? And the tiny book, and put into the mouth with a bitter taste, and pointing to that's the playing cards, and the seven thunders are the planets, the seven planets, and how that was a divination. Well, probably before it was a divination, it was calendar, because it's just another matrix, just
Right.
like the sun sign matrix, or the hexagram matrix, or the astrological, cycle matrix. I I see all these systems overlaying one another. And so when I started learning that in my card, which is the queen of clubs, that the clubs is um the tree. So the clubs is the tree, and the diamonds are the crystal, connecting back to what Barry was talking about, the earth, and um the spades are the leaves, and the hearts are the fruit on the tree.
Hmm.
And the club suit is about mind and communication, and that aligns with my tropical human design, um just being very mental, and like when you were talking earlier of, a lot of the information in sweaty, and I'm thinking in my head like, no. Because oftentimes if I'm learning something, it will be everyone around me who get really burnt out first. Um, and I've been called like Data from Star Trek before because I just, there's a high tolerance for absorbing mass amounts of information. And so when saw that that was my card, Queen of Clubs, then I was looked up Aaron Schwartz too. I looked up everybody, singers, artists, friends, family, you know, people in the world, and he was Queen of Clubs. And if anybody hasn't seen the documentary, the internet's boy, I invite you to watch it. And it's his story basically of learning how to code, when he was like 9 or something, and starts like one of the collaborators for um Reddit. I think he initially
Yeah, I
like
think so.
started that. Yeah, and then so he got more into that activism and got into copyright and just that thirst for knowledge of what is copyright, and ended up having a mentor who was a law professor. Um, and I think they started, or the professor started, the Creative Commons. And so he wanted all the information to be free. And in the documentary, it's like he goes to a library and he hacks the library and basically is getting, I think it was like legal cases because they had a paywall for people who had, court cases, and to research and find out what court cases were. They had this paywall for this archive. He's like, this isn't just, this should be accessible for everybody to have remedy. And then won that case, and now that is like an open source thing. And then he tried to push it further at like MIT, and hacking into the servers and trying to decentralize. um well, he didn't try. I mean, he started to decentralize the university journals, which were another paywall
Wow.
of this vast repository of all this information that the, power over people, right, to rule whatever, um want to compartmentalize or hoard. And yeah, it was just the gift of humor and meaningful to see that, because I just noticed that quality in me to share the information. And um very when you were talking earlier of, people, that unique risk that really need desire for people to awaken to, and and um align with their unique self out of the separate self, which ties back to the 33rd gate. And, you know looking at the wounds and skillfully looking at what's unconscious, making it conscious, healing the physical, the vital body, the mental body, and aligning, having a true self experience somehow to the seamless code of the universe, whatever that may be. So we can recognize the interconnectedness of everything, but not get stuck there, and move into unique self, um, which is basically true self plus perspective. And the unique self, what I love about that is, and we can use whatever words we want. It's this same concept. We could say that, um, the creator is the savior of us, but we're also the savior of the creator, right? God's the savior of the people. We're also, we evolve creation, or the universe, or God. And um, that's talked about in Kabbalah of the tikkun, of the alignment, or the great fixing, which is basically the individuation from discerning between not self or false self, and what is my unique self and my unique gifts. What unique risks can I give to help evolve the source code? And that
Nice.
I felt you Barry talking about that, of just this. That's what seems to be the crux right now, is we have access to all this information, but we don't have a shared story. And as soon as we get that shared story, that's when we're going to evolve the source code. And it's happening. Cliff High words it as the woo. The woo is,
Uh-huh.
you know, breaking into the mainstream paradigm.
Yeah.
And
Like a roller coaster. Woo.
I think the oppression too is forcing people. It forces growth. It's very much all this pain. Everything's birthed in pain. So it's, I mean,
yeah.
it's a tough world right now. So people are, it's getting really bad for some people. Some people it's getting really good. It's the best times of their lives. Like me physically, like I feel great right now. I feel like I'm at like one of like the height of my life of just being in control of my body, like for the main
Yeah.
part. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, I love that energy. There's other areas like my emotional state, my mental state,
Mm-hmm.
they're decent, they're ever working towards what I'm trying to be with them, I suppose is a good way there. I mean, I'm moving into an ever unknowing state more and more. Like I don't like to know anymore. I feel like everything that I thought I knew is just it's kind of trivial in a way. It feels like I'm closed down. So when I know something, I've shut the box. Like I've packaged this up into a fact, and that just, in terms of a creator, that seems like a dangerous move right there. So I don't know. I don't know what's the point. It's not remaining in some state of not knowing anything, and I mean, it's not about that. It's about, I think, more like being. Um, when you be, you are, and those are essentially two of the biggest symbols of this system. I mean, the B is the 13. The R is right spin, right ascension, clockwork. I mean, those two things in itself are a big part of this probably Berry Center that we're at. Michael showed me that earlier this week. I guess a term used for the center of gravity of more than two orbiting bodies, and it's really the where we are. If you look at the sun, it's got, let's say, a 360-day zodiac revolution from point to point. We've got a 365. So we've got this 5-day difference right here in terms of how long it takes. So it shows that we're at a different concentric circle. And I think what's happening is we're at the Berry center of all these different things that are orbiting us. And each one of these things that orbit us are a certain aspect of the Berry center. So the Berry center is the point of space that holds all the weight so that the orbit can be the orbit. So, and if you look at the sun doesn't sit in the center. Like it moves in a tight circle, and it shows that it circles this black sun. So once again, we're back to that black sun. I mean, the 5-day difference in pattern between us and what we call the sun is showing you that that thing's got movement, that where it's orbiting. They're always fucking with our time, our calendars, our daylight savings, our leap year. They're constantly trying to keep us off balance, so we can't look up the exact positions, of things and know things, because that's essentially where all the knowledge lies. Is, oh, what degree is Venus in? That's a great spot to start with that question. Or, where where is the moon? Where is the new moon going to be? Where is this new seed coming up going to be? Where's the full moon, going to be? What are all things mean? And, how can I get true information? Essentially, you're going to have to be an astrologer and an astronomer.
Let me ask you
really.
this. So, Rudolf Steiner says that Venus and Mercury had their names switched. That's, he's talking like early 1900s.
That's neat. That's interesting. So he's saying, and it would be something you could play around with because they're both
Yeah.
interior circles. So, and you also have Vulcan in there that's supposed to be in between Mercury and the Sun. So, yeah, it's definitely a neat area. Venus is supposed to be the eternal inner aspect. So it's things you can see as well. It's that pentagonal, quintessent. It's got a neat, nature. I think of course, Taurus and Libra, the signs that it's supposed to rule. It's night and it's day sign. I mean, it's bringing stuff out in the spring and it's putting it away in the fall. I mean, yeah, it's the gift of life essentially. It's refinement. It's constant growth on the cutting edge of new things and shiny things for sure. Venus is all about kind of you can get stuck up in the materialism side quite easily, or the vanity side, or the physical sexual side, but I mean there's some awesome deep high spiritual aspects of Venus out there for those who seek.
Art. Just do art.
Right. Yeah, that's neat though. With it being, I mean, Loki essentially can say he's anybody. I mean, he's gonna be really things you see is Mercury. I mean, Gemini, mutable air right there, the two bars. I mean, that's duality right there. That's the two areas of the plus and the minus, and we're gonna snap back and forth across the sun, and that essentially are things you see. Um, yeah, that's the big sense of seeing and whatnot is very much Gemini Mercury day side right there. Sirius is right in there. There's a story where our morning glow before the sun gets here in the morning is actually from Sirius, our closest, supposed to be the closest star essentially, or whatever. It's really just another orbiting, reflecting body, but I guess the morning star they've said was Venus in the morning, and then when Venus is on the other side of the sun, it's the evening star. And essentially, morning star is supposed to be Lucifer, so I'm guessing the evening star is Uranus, and it's just the Taurus Libra aspect, of Venus, really. But right in the middle, Venus exalts. Well, it's not in the middle, but Venus exalts in Pisces, so the germination, state. So we should be germinating with compassion and love. Venus is supposed to represent eternity through love, essentially. And because it all came from the higher refined inner state, our inner nature, but it's neat if you start with Pluto as your center and you work out, Venus is going to be the furthest out, the cutting edge. So it's kind of why it's a double whammy, um, just depending upon where your center is.
Right.
Hmm.
I like that idea.
Yep. Because I like Pluto potentially as Pluto moves really slow. It takes Pluto a really long time to move through the zodiac. So why isn't Pluto sitting more still in the center with fast things moving around it? I mean that, and then this thing we call the sun, essentially has, a group of it's like the mind within the field of the heart. It's like you've got this body of orbiting things in this bigger orbiting thing. And I don't know, man, it's fascinating. I think it's neat that you know, we're at where we're at in the courses of human history. Like we've pretty much gone through an erasing, and we're going to be like we're coming into a remembering at this point. So it's not like we're going to have to book learn the whole thing again step by step. It's going to be like what can you go out and experience to unlock certain reservoirs of knowledge and light codes within you. I mean, everything you do, types of people that you meet, things that you see that trigger things. I mean, the littlest thing can trigger the hugest epiphany in you. And it's you know, and then even the feelings and the experiences, the feelings contain lots of knowledge, lots of gnosis through pretty much intuition. You know, you get that Neptunian, Piscean feed right there through the mutable water, and you can transmute the water into the air, send it up. And I mean, you can feel it. And it's just, yeah, man. I don't know. You want to get into
Weather.
yeah, I've got rain rolling in. You want to get into some divination, Todd? What do you think, Bubba?
Yeah, we can. I saw you posted.
All
Let
right.
me look at this. Looks like you got the
Uh,
Othello rune, right? Is
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
that the
I haven't
10
looked.
of Pentacles? Yeah, wow,
Yeah, that's a
okay.
10 of Pentacles. I'm gonna do a quick rain scurry here. If you want to go
Oh.
first, and I'm bumping stuff out of the rain, but
um. Well, yeah.
or
I,
if
I guess I don't even.
we
So
take
it's
a pick
really
from.
what's really wild is we got the 13 again with the coyote.
I know it. I know it. I know it. I was in the 10. I was talking about how I just entered my 10th house,
Oh,
so I pulled a 10 there. You know, 10 is perfection. You know, 10 is
yeah,
supposed
yeah.
to be when you have everything, the past, present, and future in the now.
So it's funny because I was thinking about crows when you were talking about shiny things in regards to Venus.
That's
um,
neat. And I
or,
did the Crow Tarot deck. Yeah, crows collect shiny things, man. They always they drop me off quartz rocks at the bird feeding area, shiny quartz rocks.
yeah. Wow, that's amazing. He's got a lot of shiny things, so uh, that's great.
Stop.
I got the
Uh,
lotus too. I think I'm wondering what the crystal is with this coyote too. I will.
yeah, and we were talking about the crystal. Notice that.
Yeah. Um, I noticed each one of
Or
these has because you've done this animal deck a few times, and they have not only they have the gradients, which I would really wonder what the colors mean, but like each of the symbols that hangs from them must have a meaning for
they
whatever
they
tribe.
absolutely do. Yep, I'm sure they do. I mean, we've had a lot of 13 pop up with the show with your Mayan stuff too.
Right.
You know, 13 and B. You know, we've been talking about that number always hits home. I mean, I really it's supposed to be the unlucky number they say, but and it's always you can't find it right. That's missing on the elevator number list. So it's unseen. It's the Berry Center. It's the 13. It's the prime number of a B of a body of a negative body with a bird and Aries number 3. It's a 1 and a 3, and it's movement on the bar. It's a pole dancer.
Yeah,
Hmm.
coyotes are an interesting animal too. I mean, I like how majestic this one looks, but usually when you see pictures of them, they don't look quite that majestic.
Right. Yeah, the
um,
coyote isn't interesting. It's cunning. It's you know, it can be greedy, absolutely.
hmm,
You know, and if you think about us here as the coyote, it's likes to work in the dark, right? Um, it pretty much runs in a pack. So I mean, that's what we're doing here. We run in a pack. We work in the dark. You know, essentially the coyote and you know what? You don't need a hunting permit to shoot coyotes. When you're out west, like
oh yeah.
farmers are a nuisance to them. So, I mean, we're probably I don't want to think of us our species as a nuisance, but I can easily see like heightened states of consciousness and having this consciousness that's here be very noisy in terms of on the consciousness radars and it being I don't want to say annoying, but something that you're trying to help, all right? It's like a small child or something, but it's a very old small child, and it's a small child that essentially, ought to be, right? I mean, ever growing young, that, through the eyes of a child is, those who will see the kingdom and all that. I mean, that's all absolutely true. But at the same time, the child state of the emotions, the child state of our use of mind, the childish state of our use of heart, we got a long way to go. I mean, we got a long,
Uh-oh.
but we're working on it.
Oh. Yeah, absolutely.
We
You
we
know,
got it, Todd.
let me see. There's I don't memorize all the runes, so I'm pulling up
I'm
some of
gonna
the.
look. Yeah, I'm gonna pull that up too. See what
So
this.
it
So that is
says
gonna be
Othala.
separation.
Oh, this one
Yeah,
says homeland. Am I looking at the wrong
homeland.
one?
Let me. I might have pulled the wrong one. Page 92. Let me see. Othala, yeah, retreat, inheritance, separation.
Well, we,
And it's
we
got
were
two
talking about
sevens.
retreat.
Look
That's
at
nice.
that. And separation, I think a seven, and you've got two sevens kissing, really, is what you have in that symbol.
Yeah.
So retreat, inheritance, says now is the time of separating paths. Old skins must be shed, outmoded relationships discarded. When this rune appears in a spread, appealing away is called for. Included in the cycle of initiation, Othala is the rune of radical severance. The proper action here is submission and quite probably retreat, knowing how and when to retreat, possessing the firmness of will to carry it out. And we were talking a lot today about retreating, me retreating into the wilderness, just that time of year, the 33. That's neat. Um, Real property, so land, is
Huh.
associated with Othala, for it is the rune of acquisition and benefits. However, the benefits you receive, the inheritance, may be derived from something you must give up. Such a surrender can be particularly difficult when that which you are called upon to give up or abandon is an aspect of your behavior or some part of your cultural inheritance. For them, you must look closely at what until now you proudly claimed as your birthright, whether it is your attachment to your position in society, to the work, or your beliefs about your own nature. The separation called for now will free you to become more truly who you are. So that's cool.
So apparently, this is a symbol that was rehabbed or remixed by the Nazis.
Oh, really?
Wonderful.
That's awesome.
I mean, isn't that what it really was altering the language to benefit themselves? It's cool you said I forget, I read this as you read that, but it said the Othala rune, ancestral property, Odin's rune. This rune represents inherited property or possessions, a house, a home. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's inheritance, land, physical property. Um, that's and just things coming in through inheritances in general. So unexpected, things bestowed upon you pretty much in a material sense.
All right.
hmm Which is interesting.
Yeah, I gotta turn these
Yeah.
images off, or I'm gonna probably get in trouble.
It's
Um,
awesome. And then I got the Ten of Pentacles. So it's a neat card. That's also possessions. Pentacles are earth,
oh, Nathan's back too.
coins, and you're good. And then 10 is perfection. So we've got, and I like to use the crow cards of, the watchers, the crows, the scavenger kingdom, always watching and always cleaning up after us, and just pretty much picking up all the
Yeah.
waste and keeping it nice and clean. So how does spirit see us from its perspective right now? What is it viewing us as, or what should we be doing, or in that sense. So the Ten of Pentacles is neat. So it just shows a perfection of your material possessions. So a perfection of things that you ought to keep versus things you should get rid of. and discard. So, whittling it down to that which contains value and meaning. So, I need to do a lot of that, like just my personal property around me. I have a lot of organizing and a lot of separating and a lot of, you know, cleaning and making choices about things to do. And it's been driving me bonkers. I have to do it. It's just got to pick an area and start. But maybe that's the rune I needed to see, with the 10 of Pentacles. Maybe it's a good time for us to all do some summer cleaning. It's nice and, light and, airy and a nice dry heat, so it's a good time to get rid of maybe some of the water, use this heat to get rid of some of those emotions, some of those feelings you've been holding on to that maybe necessarily aren't serving you or others around. So yeah, I don't know. It's a good card. I mean, look at your pentacles as your penthouse, your body that you live in, that your light's in as well. Trim it down to what do I need? What serves me? What do I need to start working on here? What do I want to fix? What needs attention? What am I thankful for? What has been awesome? Just self-reflection, just looking at yourself, being honest with yourself.
Well, it's super funny that you mentioned about making decisions because I wanted to share uh, a magic card with you guys.
Awesome. What do you got?
um, well, let me send you guys a picture real quick.
Okay.
While you're doing that,
Yeah.
I thought of the 7 of Tool's Fear Inoculum album, and I think Danny Carey, there's an interview with him talking about most of those songs are in time signature relating to 7, and there's like this whole, because Tool does like the layer upon layers in their music, in their themes and the lyrics, and that came to mind, so I'm going to be listening to that album tonight.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
So I just sent that picture on the channel for you guys to take a look. So, as you guys know, I share magic cards on here because I think they have some great esoteric things you can learn. And I thought about sharing. This is one of my favorite cards, and I'll explain why. First of all, it's called Risk Factor. It's a pretty cheap card in terms of the game. It's sort of a power. Red's a power color, so you're taking a lot of actions. You want to go fast. Like a lot of it's about doing damage quickly and fast. It's exactly uh, the esoteric kind of idea almost. But this card came out I think last year, and it's so fun to play because it is all about forcing the opponent to make a decision. Um, and I've seen in a lot of readings, there's a lot of people that have to make decisions right now, and I was like, no way, because I wanted to share this card. It's one of my faves. So what it does is you can play it any time. That's what the instant means. Um, and the target opponent may have risk factor, which is this card. So when I play this, the target opponent may have risk factor deal 4 damage to them. If they don't, you draw 3 cards. So they have to decide whether or not they're going to take damage, which you get 20 life. So 4 is, a fifth of your life. It's not bad until you keep playing this. So it has a secondary ability called Jumpstart, which you can play the casting cost again and do it again. Now, if you've already ate 4 damage, now you're eating 8 damage. So very quickly, there's things you can do to just beat your opponent with this card. But what it's hilarious is like you have to make a decision. Now, if you guys remember the counter spell I shared, that could literally you could just counter spell this. You don't have to make the decision. But in my games, this gets played a lot, and there's spells you can do to copy these type of spells and make them even more crazy. But what I love too is got this is a card,
Hilarious.
right? there was a older version of this card, so to speak. It's a little different, and it's a sorcery, means you can only play that on your turn, so a little less advantageous. But unless a player has Browbeat deal 5 damage to him, target player draws 3 cards. And what I like about this is the flavor text. It says, even the threat of power has power. Um, so yeah, really fun card to play. Like I say, there was a couple cards in the past that force your opponent to they have to actually just make a decision, but this one's really fun and um, it's won me a lot of games.
Yeah, it seems to be a big theme. Absolutely, like making decisions. I mean, that's kind of too where that rent eviction moratorium ending too. Like a lot of people are going to be facing big decisions. I mean, schools starting up. It seems like they're trying to force a lot of like mask stuff and COVID testing on kids. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of you're going to have to make a decision right now coming up, like a big one. In terms of your personal beliefs, some of them you're going to have to let go. Think of, I mean, it's nuts coming up. Like I don't know, man. It just seems like things are going to get pushed real hard this fall. I mean, there was a couple 100,000 person protest in France, I think, over the weekend because they came out with health passports over there. And
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I work at a federal agency, so they're talking about
Mm.
mandatory, I think, mask if you're not vaccinated. I think they're just wanting to label people and segregate us and get us labeled. So if you're wearing a mask, that means you're not vaccinated, and essentially you're a bad guy. Call you the enemy, and they're making both sides the enemy, and they just got us fighting each other, and it's retarded. We all need to be in the middle,
Yeah, who cares?
right? What's the point?
Yeah, really, stop wasting your time. Like, how many times y'all need to keep like here's my problem. Everyone had a year to use the internet and learn about your own biology. If you haven't done that yet, you need to do that. It literally makes no sense, you know? And you
Mhm.
learn about your
Yeah,
biology, oh, problem solved. It's it's
right.
it's not even complicated.
Know thyself. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, jeez.
In the age of
Anyways,
information, ignorance is a choice.
yeah.
it really is, man. It is. I mean it, and a lot of it too is like like things that people defeat themselves in. I mean, it's all self-defeating, and the main disease is not knowing thyself in the end. Everything comes down to things that you could easily have control of if you just took the time to even be curious about it, which is mainly the big thing that's missing out there is people don't really have the general want or care to look at most of this stuff, and because it's either too taxing on what energetic resources they have to dedicate here. I mean, because it's typically spent on binge watching this or that, or getting involved with neighborhood drama. I don't even know what people do. I mean, it just seems essential that you'd be out there. Like, I mean, an oak tree could teach you so much. I mean, you could just spend an hour a day in the afternoon with an oak tree and fucking learn worlds of information. I mean, everything here is just a classroom to just show us. And I mean, it's essentially our jobs is to give things meaning. That's what the human does, is it names things and provides it meaning and gives it color. And it seems like they're really trying to get us out of that role. They want to tell us what the color is, and either you're falling in line with it or you're a bad guy. So
Yeah, how do we face outrageous pain in
mm,
the only way that I can see that we
with
can do that?
outrageous love.
Outrageous love. And
Yeah.
outrageous love is not mere human sentiment. It's not a Hallmark card. It's not a function of the separate self ego. It's what moves the stars. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe that that is when we align with our unique self, like know thyself, looking at all these different aspects of our design. And I'm so open to all the different aspects, whether it's astrology, human design, gene keys, I Ching, Mayan, other self inventories, and seeing the synthesis of it to see, okay, what's consistent and what registers in the
Mm-hmm.
pattern and what is not. And so then I can discern and I can pan for this unique self out of the false self.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
awesome.
and one of the things I notice with, like, spiritual bypassing, which is, it's so prevalent that it goes unnoticed, is um people not noticing the distinction of how true self is a catalyst for us to get to unique self, meaning um we can have an experience of oneness, yet we need to discern the distinction between stages of development and states, right? Because there are
Mm-hmm.
people have a state shift and then think they've arrived at a higher stage, or you know higher worldview. And so what is it that can get people to experience the seamless code of the universe, even when it seems like there is compartmentalization, right? Even though that we know that the crises are catalysts for evolution, they always have been.
Yeah.
And so uh, what would be both of your unique perspectives from both of you of, you say someone's in separate self, they're, it's like, what what can they do to taste that? Like, there's a whole bunch of different things, strategies that I'm familiar with of, being in nature. It might be a psychedelic experience, but I'm not saying that like that's the only way. It could be meditation, just some way that anchors that true self, because there's only one true self that is looking through all of our eyes out through our unique perspective. And because it's looking through our unique perspective, that's what makes the unique self. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's
so
easy, really. You just gotta
yeah,
stop. Just stop. Just do nothing, literally. Doing nothing is immense, you know? It's literally,
Yeah.
the more nothing you do, it becomes tremendously psychedelic. I'm not kidding you. Like, the
mm,
problem is we get all these obligations and we repeat them. We keep cycling ideas, we keep cycling bad ideas, good ideas, we keep, you know what I mean? That's what most people do. Like, uh,
Filling
yeah.
the void.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, creating the void, making more void. It's like just be quiet. Like you would be
yeah,
surprised. Like if you think if everybody stopped using some service for one day, like it would be immense. You know, if you can even go like if you can go a day without your phone, I mean, it would be immense. You know.
yeah. So we
Yeah.
could we could we could practice that until the, what is gate 33? I think it's until the 8th of August. Just, with that retreat in the sun in 33. Yeah, until August 8th, it will be in there, and the sixth line day is on the 5th. And then it moves into another, the next hexagram.
Mm-hmm. So it is a big time of kind of whittling the down to the self, just getting rid of all the faults, different voices and, that true unique reflection. I look at it like, how do I know that I'm with my true self? And it pretty much comes down to honesty. I find that being honest with myself, the humility route has always been the easiest route to find my true self. And when I'm in an honest state, when I have a practical mindset, when I can relate, the the spiritual worlds into this world, it allows it to serve me and serve others around me. So it comes down it was born of trust, and it was hard because I didn't want to give my intuition, the full reins, and I very much, have a long time ago let it really take the driver's seat, and it puts me where I need to be. So, it's supposed to release worry. You're never supposed to be worried about where your next meal is going to come from, this or that in life, because you're always going to be provided for because you're listening to that inner guide inside of you. It takes a while, and you know when you're either against your voice or you're aligned with it. I mean, we just know. I mean, it's that feeling that you have in you that you feel. So I think a lot of people in general are kind of scared to develop a deep relationship with their own self because when they start doing that, they're going to have to face all these things they've maybe been putting off or
Yes.
I mean, I personally like I don't think I have any skeletons in my closet, I mean that I right now. And a lot of people, I think, have skeletons in their closets that they are aware of. And that must be an uncomfortable feeling to have like energies inside you that you can't talk about or that you hope certain people don't find out about. Like, I wouldn't operate well in a body with that in me. Like, I would have to get it out. So, I mean, being honest with yourself, getting down to your core, getting rid of any skeleton that you can in there, like while you can do the work right now, I think that's all vital. I think everything like that are some of the hallmarks of our work that we're doing here, some of the cleanup work that we're doing. I mean, you can't really come in and get people to listen if you're not doing any of it yourself. I mean, so if you want to affect positive change, you're in an egotistical world driven by the senses where everybody sees things with their eyes. You got to see it to believe it. We're pretty much gonna have to go Jesus mode in this world. I mean, I swear, like that's the only thing that's gonna ever get people to listen is, hey man, this dude's walking on water over here, or this guy just poofed out 5,000 loaves of bread or something. I mean, I don't
This
even
guy
Whoa.
know what
didn't
it is.
use his phone for 1 week.
In
Oh my
1 week.
god, people would lose their mind.
Right,
You'd be a
right.
celebrity instantly. You'd be like,
So I
how
think
did you
it's
do
gonna
it?
take.
How did you
It
live
really is.
without a
It's
phone?
gonna take like multiple different people popping whatever categories that whatever light codes they brought that are, that I guess I don't want to say aren't typically allowed here. That of course they're allowed here, but like they wouldn't want out right now. Like we've all got our, special things that we've brought from all these different corners of the cosmos here in this meetup point right here. And I think all of us have these insane abilities in us as creators, and we all have these special honed in areas that we've done a lot of work on. And I think, those unfolding slowly will start to show everybody that we all have something in us. And it would be then a quest for each individual to find what they have inside themselves. It would be like an ultimate video game. Like, dude, I got to figure out this body I'm in. I'm supposed to eat the right foods. I gotta go, sweat and perspire at least a little bit every day. Like it would be like a real life video game, like it's supposed to be. And then as you go in the game, you get new updated feelings and senses, and things become more sharp and honed in. And I don't know. I mean, it's kind of you get what you're ready for type system really here. Most people aren't even ready to handle the body, that they're going into. Like they can't even keep this thing running for X amount of years. I mean, we're
Wow.
dying of cancer in
There's
the
a lot of
70s
black
and
magic,
80s.
remember?
Well, there is,
A
but
lot of
there's a lot of,
tricksters, a lot of people lying. Yeah,
but that's all overcome, all that
yeah,
can be overcome. I mean, as a creator, nothing can ever deteriorate you or affect you unless you let it or
right.
unless you do it to yourself. So really it's overcoming that state of self deterioration here and decay, and it's a reversing of that process. a crystallization, adding new layers of purity, new layers of clearness in a diameter fashion around the surface. So I don't know, man. It's obviously easier said than done. Um,
That's
I
the
mean, I'm just
gift.
like the rest of you, we're all just trying to do our parts and bring people together, and it's slow work. It feels
Slow and
slow.
steady wins the race.
Yeah, Bubba.
Hey Nathan,
Not, yeah.
uh, did you want to do any divination as well?
Anything specific?
If you wanted to draw a card or a rune or I don't know, straws,
Roll a
bone.
die or yeah, anything.
I don't have any
Okay,
cards specifically that I own.
no worries.
I'm open if either of you would like to pull a card. I trust in that.
We did,
Okay.
we did. Could pull one for you.
Oh, yeah, I'm open to that.
Let's do that, Todd. What do you got on your end? Pick him a magical deck out there.
I can
You could do the
do
Mayan number one for him.
shit. I can. You gotta give me a minute though.
I gotta undig this. That's awesome. I like this deck. It's a pretty cool deck. Well, Nathan, we really appreciate you having you on the show, man. It's been awesome, man.
Yeah, it's a gift to connect and meets my desire for some variety and shared meaning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I really look forward to these. It's a nice little slice of time each week to relax and just kind of unpack, at least esoterically and spiritually what I've been holding in, and it's always fun to get different people on. I mean, that's really my favorite part. Yeah, Todd told me you were coming on. I was like, no way, man, that's awesome. I guess we're having at some point the guy that does all the Rudolph Steiner audiobooks on YouTube. We're gonna have him on. He's connected to the Rudolph Steiner Press, so I don't know. I'm a
Wow.
huge Steiner fan, so I'm kind of excited to pick his brain a little bit.
That's the
But
biodynamic farming is one
mhm,
aspect of it. Yeah. And the crushing up crystals and putting it in a cow stomach and burying it under the certain time of the moon.
right, absolutely, man. That's what it's all about. I think that's what the future holds is, the real discoveries of all this stuff around us. It's so much more than a rock or a piece of grass. I mean, everything just has so much potential in it. Life force and, death. I mean, this area of sex between it, it's something that we should all be able to harness on both sides. We should be able to hold the dark and to be able to contain the light. And we should be able to emit the light and to loosen the dark too. And I don't know. I mean, it feels like we need both realms. I feel like that black, well, it says be lax, so it looks like a body lack, but that feels like the body for the light, essentially. Black contains all light within itself. Um, yeah, man. I don't know.
Nice.
Todd,
Alright.
did we find the Mayan?
Yeah, good choice, I think, with this.
Both know what your Mayan sun. You mentioned yours, Todd. What was yours, Barry? Your Mayan sun sign?
I don't know my Mayan sun sign. I haven't looked. I haven't looked into this yet.
I think I'm blue electric storm.
Barry, I think I can give you yours. Well,
Okay.
I forget your birthday.
April 27th, 1983. And then 7:04 p.m. if you need the time.
Okay. April 27th.
Yep, 1983. Born at
Nice,
night.
nice numbers. I like them.
Yeah, 427. That's a 27's a 9, and 13 if you add it to the 4 there, and 83, that's an 11.
I got you.
19.
You're
Yeah, what do you got?
a you're a yellow overtone seed.
No way. Yellow overtone seed?
Close
That's
to
Yeah,
pretty
talking
interesting.
about the germination in the seeds in the plants often.
Right.
It's
That's what
beautiful.
this whole point of this realm is the seed. That's freaking awesome, man. That's pretty cool.
Oh, great. It also gives you the other things which I talked about a little bit with the one's called the guide, one's called the antipode, one's called the analog, and one's called the occult.
Okay.
So that too.
Okay. Check this out. I gotta look into this. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Red electric moon.
I think that's your year, right?
Yeah, and yellow overtone seed.
What was
I
yours again?
empower.
I'll go ahead, read it if you want.
Yeah, I empower in order to target. Commanding awareness. I seal the input of flowering with the overtone tone. I am guiding by the power of free will. Yeah, I'd say that absolutely speaks my freaking frequency loud and clear. Especially
Thanks.
the commanding awareness. Like I feel like I always say hyper awareness about myself. Like that's just my, I don't know, like my state of mind connected to my sense system is like that. It's wired for data interpretation with massive amounts of things coming into it.
Mm,
Um,
making you
and then, but
sweaty.
it's yeah, dude. And I am guided by the power of free will. I mean, essentially that choice, that seed. I mean, that's what it all represents. That's what I mean. All different seeds have all made different choices. That's cool, man. It's got the eagle, the human, the wizard, and the earth for the occult, wizard for the antipode, which I have Saturn on the ascendant right there. It's cool. Human for the guide. Yep. Analog for the eagle. That's cool, man.
Right?
Universal fire and light and life. Yellow sun. Yeah, I gotta look into that. That's cool.
Yeah, what was Nathan?
Blue electric storm, I believe.
That's cool, man. That sounds awesome. The more.
Store. Yeah. Um, yeah, it's really fascinating. Like the more I'm looking at it, it's just okay, here we go. Blue electric storm. Send you I like this app. I've been using it for a while. Like I say, the what's really fascinating about the Mayan stuff is how many. So there's like a sequence of days that is like they're like I don't want to say better. They're just like no, like important nodes because it's more of a three-dimensional object than like a uh, one-dimensional object. But then
Right.
so anyway, that like they line up almost perfectly with full moons and some of the big holidays. Like it's really wild. It's
That's
almost like
cool.
we used to use that calendar to do things, and then you could almost like see that the deviation from that because it's like say the moon is it's almost always on like a specific day or like a good number day.
What app is this, Todd?
It's called 1320 Sync.
1320 Sync. SYNC.
Yep.
Okay.
I remember seeing that the codons can also be grouped with this too. Those I'm not familiar yet what the circles mean in the
Yeah. Either.
1, 2, 3, or 4. But there's something there that links that to the hexagram that then links that to the codons. So
Oh,
I believe that all the systems overlay, all of them. Like there's some
Yeah.
way that Magic the Gathering cards overlay with Mayan sun signs.
right. Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way. Yeah. almost like it's just
With
a
the
bunch.
electric tone of service, that speaks to you, Nathan. And I am guided by the power of abundance. Yep.
Yeah, and the bonding resonates with Gate 13 in my tropical human design, which is the gene key. Or yeah, the fellowship of man or humanity. Fellowship of, also known, 13 is also the empathy gate.
That's cool. That's the heart. That's where we are. I mean, and that's what it's about here too, having compassion for others, having empathy, putting yourself in their shoes, feeling how they would feel or how they
Mm.
do feel. Yep.
So the
And I
top right.
have,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. I was just gonna say, with the communication and the empathy, I have the category in my server that's the throat chakra evolution, and in there I have a whole bunch of materials. I'll be uploading a few different courses on like conscious communication. Yet, so 33 in the human design graph is in the throat center. And then the physiology for the 33rd gene key is the thyroid. So just wanted to add that.
Oh,
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, amazing.
So it's very interesting that like a tincture, an iodine tincture, for example, it's really fascinating to look at which the physiology is for the through the gene keys, and what the um codon is for that, or the amino acid, and then like I nerd out and connect that to like supplements. So like if someone wants to
Oh,
give
yeah.
their give their throat some support for communication, you could get something like um you know th- uh, an iodine tincture and help your thyroid, and that would help the subtle body of the throat chakra, and then you can start looking into those communication skills, like you're mentioning earlier, Barry, of where people might, yeah, this goes back to the retreat, right, where we have this outrageous pain and the shock and what's happening because we were not given like communication skills, and we might have been subjected through direct or indirect caregivers who are emotionally illiterate, right? So a good majority
Right. Yep.
of us were reparenting ourselves, and that comes through the emotional intelligence, which is
Hmm.
all roads lead to the throat.
Yep. Yep. That's awesome, man.
You're saying, Todd?
So I'm shuffling this deck right now. I have a card. Are you guys ready for it?
Yes.
I am ready.
So this deck comes from the Mayan Oracle, and what I really love about it is a lot of the in the book it has, I guess you could call it prose, and it's very light, magnetic, and electric based, which is what I love that. So and it's super poetic and artful. So um, let's see what we get here. Okay, so we got the 5 or 9 of greater cycles. So this is gonna be the tone. Showing you guys a picture.
9 is the number.
Yeah.
I like 9. Yeah. That's supposed to be us.
Oh, what?
9 as in the completion, or the ending of
Mm.
things, or the beginning of something. Usually the ending, I'd
Mm-hmm.
imagine, before 10. What's your view on that, Barry?
Yeah, yeah. I like 9 as that. I like 10 too as a second instance of 1. So it's almost like 9 is the end right there. 9 is as far
Mm-hmm.
as you can go, and it shows you that I really like to think of a tornado or a storm, or because it looks like if you put it on a bird's eye view, it shows movement. It shows strong emittance. So, and I think that's how you would go on to your second instance of one as the 10, as perfection, with the 1 and the 0, the alpha omega right there.
All right.
But because you have a 9, it has the alpha omega, the 0 and the 1. They're just positioned a little bit differently. When you hit the 10, it's like they kind of separate and they hit, and they're in, I guess, parallelness versus being kind of in a north-south orientation or left-right. I don't know. It's neat.
I kind of see 9 as like a going up or like a lightning of lightning, while 6 is kind of the densifying. But then like 10 is, yeah, I see the parallel. I think that's a good analogy. But I see 10 as like the tippy top of like a sine wave, right? And it's
Yeah.
you know, looking down on on you know, the new experience that you need to go down. You know, just like that cycle at the beginning with the 13 days, but you know, 7 days, 6 nights.
Mhm.
So let me read this real quick. Uh, Thread of grand design in the tapestry of light, on the loom of the great cycles weave your pattern. The qualities are completion, expansion, mastery, larger cycles of time, fulfillment, grand design. 9 is the ray of greater cycles, the foundation of self-opening to the 4 points of measure and cycle. It is the grand design, the unfolding order of the larger pattern. With 9, you are being offered the embrace of longed-for completion. Fulfill your pattern, your circle. Embody the mastery and wisdom you came to express. This ray asks you to be rather than try to be. Embody the wisdom of the larger cycles. Become the one who shines the light for others. You are the humanitarian whose being unfolds the larger pattern of the new world. In the grand cycle of time, 9 is the number of completion and expansion. What is it that you are being asked to complete? Can you see the clues to this cycle of completion? As you expand, shed old patterns that do not support your growth. Receive completion's fulfillment. You are poised on an arc of grand cycle of time. In this cycle, time and space fold, past and future merge, and lifetimes meld in completion. Join the fulfillment of the mystery of the triple triangle by offering your mastery to be woven into the larger loom of reality.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and feel engaged hearing that. Thank you. Supportive to read that, Todd.
Oh, you're very welcome. um, yeah, I love that. It's
I love that deck too. Like you said, it's magnetic and it looks like it, man. It just looks like you want to handle it and play with it.
yeah.
Well, good stuff. Thanks for sharing, Nathan. I appreciate. Like I said, it's been a real awesome opportunity to have you on. I'd definitely be down to, have you join us again in the future here too.
Absolutely.
We love having you.
Yeah, it's a gift of outrageous love. I think we're evolving the source code coming together like this.
Absolutely.
It's about damn time.
That's right. That's right, man. It's been a long time coming. I mean, this place needs some good inspiration. It's going to take some good teamwork, man. Nobody's going to be able to just, do it all themselves. We're gonna have to come together. It's going to be a fostering of community here. So, I mean, that's essentially what it's all about in the family of light. So, I mean, we're going to infiltrate, and that's what it's probably going to be. Love is just going to start infiltrating everything. Like, it's going to start piercing everything around it. There's going to be just nodes of love.
Sneaky love.
And it's just going to overpower. It's just going to be too strong for the hate and the fear that's around it. I mean, it's on the way. It's here. It's here to stay. It likes this place. It finds beauty here. It doesn't care what anything says that it's been and that it will be. It's all about the now. So that's
Absolutely.
all we'll ever be. Yep. All I know is we still got this now.
And now, and now, now,
Yeah.
and now.
Now is one backwards. Yep.
Good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nathan, thanks so much, man. Really been an awesome conversation. So
It's a gift to contribute, man.
definitely gonna have to do it again sometime. Hey, this is the star episode. It's also the 17th letter of the alphabet Q. So I don't know. I don't know
Ooh.
if that matters, but
That's
That's like
another Alpha
that's another
Omega.
form of, yeah, another form of the 9 or 10.
Yeah, yeah, essentially it is. That's cool. That's and 17 I kept thinking about as a star card as the 16, which is the two realms of 8 with the center node being the 17th, which is a special number. It's prime. So it's, after 13 you hit 17 is your next prime number right there, and then you'd hit 19, and then you're off to 23 from there. So I mean, 17's a special spot. It's been this whole episode has probably been a tribute and symbolic of it, and I'm sure it's aligned with exactly what it was supposed to be.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Well,
let's call it. We got 18 coming up here, I think, next week on the books, and
number of life.
number of life, man. Yep, R. That's right. That's right. No fucking shit. All right, man. For all those listening, appreciate that too. And Todd, man, you have a great week, and Nathan, you have a great week coming up, and you guys keep staying positive out there.
Into
Thanks.
retreat we go until the 8th.
Perfect.
That's it. Off
Aloha.
into the off into the retreat of the soul. All right, later, brothers.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Adios.